Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of 219 Green Connect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219 Green Connect. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Listeners to our show today can phone in at 805-243-1323 to post questions or to join us on the call. I'm Kathy Sipple, I'm your host, and with me today I have John Gibson from Sustainable Indiana 2016. Hi, John.
Hey, good afternoon.
Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate having you on the call. I know it was a little bit of short notice, but I'm very excited about this gardening initiative for August 18th throughout the state of Indiana. Can you give listeners a little bit of a background about Sustainable Indiana 2016, and also about the gardening initiative?
Well, sure, absolutely. You and your listeners probably know that Indiana celebrates its bicentennial, that its 200th birthday on the year 2016. So a little while ago, we started this program called Sustainable Indiana 2016 to get ready for the bicentennial. And what we wanted to do was to make this a really big celebration of things that have to do with all things green. For example, we want to be able to celebrate the green innovators of this state. A lot of people don't know how many there are, but they're just popping up everywhere. And I was encouraged by that when I first started thinking about how Indiana might become a more sustainable state. We also want to celebrate the mass actions that are going on and will increase as we move toward the bicentennial year. And this year, the mass action is around gardens. Actually, it's very exciting to see how the local food movement, which includes gardening, whether it be a community garden or backyard garden, a church-side garden, school garden, whatever, is growing in Indiana. It's a real proliferation. It's exciting. It's contributing to our food security. It's reconnecting people with the land, and it's building community. And we think it's worth celebrating these. So we've chosen the date, August 18th, and we're starting to organize so that people anywhere they live in Indiana will be able to go to a garden party and mentoring clinic. And they will find friends there. They will be able, if they are gardeners, they will be able to get a certificate of appreciation, be added to the garden honor roll, what we're calling the Bicentennial Green Honor Roll of gardeners. If they are interested in starting a garden, there will be either a master gardener or some other experienced person who can give them some really fine tips on how to get started and what their options are for the space they have to work in. And we will be putting up, that is the host of these garden parties will receive a very nice sign to put up at their site, which is an artful rendition with the words Bicentennial Green-Legacy Garden. And just the thought of doing this all across the state on the same day with people just becoming more and more aware of how important gardens are, how wonderful they are, it should be a lot of fun.
Well, I am looking forward to it. I know ever since you told me about it, I was starting to think of what can I do. I'm part of a community garden, and I did go ahead and stake my claim, made it official online yesterday. And to do so, if we've got anybody who's perked, whose interest we perked by talking about this, you can go to www.sustainableindiana 2016, our bicentennial year, help me out, is it .org?
It's .org.
.org. And you can follow the links for Garden Party. And you can check on your own county and see what other parties are already scheduled there. I believe we've got some, at least one, scheduled in Lake County here in northwest Indiana. I'm in Porter County, and I'll be at the community garden at Foundation Meadows in Valparaiso on that day. Hopefully we'll get some more support. And we've got one in LaPorte scheduled already, as well as St. Joseph County, a little bit east of us. So we'd love to have multiple garden parties going on in each of these counties so people have a choice. I think that would be great to almost do a progressive garden party where you can go around and learn about all different kinds of gardens. So I am ramping up on mine, but I know at least our plan right now is to do tours of the community garden. There are, I believe, about 40 different plots there, and each is 12 by 12, and it's just amazing how different each gardener's approach is. I mean, there's some really innovative vertical gardening attempts going on. Some raised bed gardens are pretty prevalent. But, all the gardens are pretty successful there. So I think that'll be fun to give people tours, talk a little bit about what they see. And I plan to have some samples on hand, too, from my own garden. And if any other community gardeners would like to contribute to that, so people can really taste the difference. It is organic. Everything that we do in this garden, we've all committed to doing organically. And I'm quite into worm composting. So if I can figure out a good way to do a demo on that, I may make that part of the festivities as well. So I really thank you for setting off this initiative, and I look forward to being a part of it.
Well, I do too, and what you're doing there, Kathy, is very exciting. And this worm composting thing is very very beneficial. If we can get more people around Indiana to do this, it will help make good use of our kitchen scraps. And we do throw away, a lot of food scraps that could very well be turned into worm castings that are great fertilizer for gardens.
And I was trying to explain to somebody I know why I feel so passionate about this, or why I feel it's a good metaphor for sustainability. But here's the loop as I see it. I enjoy organic vegetable gardening. I very much enjoy harvesting those vegetables. I was just there over my lunch hour today. My garden's very close to where I work, so I can get there easily. And, I will take that home tonight, and we'll have it for dinner. I'll probably have a little stem on the end or some part of it that I won't be able to use, maybe some peel. And instead of throwing that in the trash, it goes in the worm bin. And then just weeks or a month later, I've got compost to put back on the garden. So just the whole cycle is really, really great. I think it just makes you so much more aware of what you're eating and how you're part of this whole circular system. It really tunes you in, I think, beyond just being close to your food source. It makes you care more about what goes into that food, and therefore tracing it back to the soil and so on and so on. So I'm a little bit obsessed, but I think it's a healthy obsession. So
there are a lot worse obsessions for sure.
Yeah, I tell my husband he's lucky. Some women like to go on shopping sprees, and I'm just kind of obsessive about recycling our food scraps. So I think he got off pretty lucky. Yeah. So,
well, if any of the listeners happen to live in a county that is not yet listed on the website as having a garden party, why, please do your best to find a garden, or maybe you have one yourself, and get it up there and list it, and we'll send you materials that will help you pull off a great party.
And just for the record, I've been talking about community garden because that's what I have, but I really don't want to skew this toward being only community gardens in particular. We're challenging the community to show us your gardens and celebrate those gardens. But it could be, as John said before, a backyard garden, a front yard garden, vertical garden. I've even seen a couple people I know that did what are called window farm gardens that are hanging recycled water bottles inside that are kind of a hydroponic vertical, garden that hangs in a window. So even people with very little space can have a garden, that they could celebrate. I would love to see some aquaculture gardens get involved. I had the opportunity to tour a place at a workshop back in December up in Gary, Indiana. And gosh, that was neat to see their, hydroponically grown vegetables, but all connected to this aquaponics system where they had fish in a tank that, what's the polite word? Oh, I can't think of what the right word would be. But the fish, their excrement, I guess, fertilize the plants, and the worms. I can't explain exactly how this all works, but it's just a very clean, very complete system that uses 90% less water than a traditional garden because the water keeps getting cycled through, and that the way the system works, it cleans itself. So I think anybody who's doing that, I double dare you to have a garden party, because I just think that's a great sustainable system, to showcase, and people are doing it. Any kind of garden, really. You said not so much the big farms, but are there any other criteria, just things that the average Joe is doing? Is that kind of the idea? Just anything that celebrates gardening and local food?
Yes, it could be a backyard garden. And people are doing very creative things to build community with their gardens. Some do what we call plant a row for the poor.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take a portion of their produce and take it to either their church or their community pantry, so that some people who come there for supplements to their household food supply can have some fresh produce. I'm just, as I find out more about what people are doing with their gardens, it encourages me. One, that there's a lot of creativity among the Hoosier population, and two, there's a lot of compassion and community going on around gardens. Sometimes that's as simple as trading a carrot for a tomato, one neighbor to another.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's more sophisticated.
I have a setup just like that, and I love it. My neighbor happens to be a real fanatic about his lawn. I probably let mine go a little bit longer than he would care to see. But we have a perfect solution. He mows our lawn, and we keep him in zucchini and tomatoes all summer because he works in Chicago and doesn't have time to really do a garden. So it's perfect, I don't necessarily wait until the day that he mows the lawn, but whenever I have, some excess, I just take it over to him, and it works out great. So, I think wherever anybody can encourage that one-to-one type of situation, that's wonderful. And there are larger organizations. I think I've mentioned to you we have Grow NWI here in Northwest Indiana. That's kind of organized by County Line Orchard, which is right on the County Line Road between Lake and Porter County. And I think they have about a dozen flagship community gardens this year that they're sponsoring. They've helped them by bringing out, digging equipment, manpower, raised bed gardens, even soil, and with some instruction about how to get started. And they're helping churches, boys and girls clubs, all kinds of different places, even one in a county park here in Valpo. And their model is different than the one I'm in. In my community garden, you pretty much rent a plot, and, what you do with your produce is up to you. In their system, what they're trying to do is give 1/3 to the food banks, 1/3 to the people who are working on the plot, and then 1/3 that goes back to farmers markets to be sold, and then that money put back into the program so they can do more. So I think that's a pretty innovative system as well. So I wish them well. This is their second year in existence, and they've recently begun a green box distribution where they have kind of a local food network. They're going around and collecting excess produce from farmers and then delivering it to local residents here in Valparaiso for just $15 a week. So I think that's a pretty neat program. That's in its infancy, but that, again, is making, produce more available. I'd love to see people do it themselves. That's even better. But, sometimes you can supplement what you're able to do yourself with, that kind of a program. So
I saw a statistic the other day, Kathy, that 90% of the food we eat in Indiana, we import from outside Indiana. which is amazing.
I saw that.
We're the 10th largest agricultural state in the country.
That is amazing.
And so to see this garden culture flourish is very exciting, because that will cut into that 90% and begin to help us all be more food secure, since we don't have to ship our food over long distances to get here. And of
Absolutely.
course, the food that's local and fresh is healthier and tastes a whole lot better as well.
Right. Got a lower carbon footprint, and you're building sustainable economics within your local community, creating jobs and keeping jobs and money in the area. Another angle that I covered in a past show last month was local food, healing your body, and raising healthy eaters. And that was kind of a fun show. Emily Russell was my guest that day, and just talked about the importance of encouraging kids to get involved from an early age. And I've noticed a lot more families this year at my community garden, and some very, very young kids being very excited about the planting, the harvesting, the watering. And I think, wow, how can they not like vegetables if they grow up with literally the dirt under their fingernails and getting so involved? And that's neat to see. So Emily is actually doing a workshop. I'll throw in a little plug for her workshop. It'll be at Parenting by Nature in Valparaiso, and I think that's coming up very, very soon. You can go to their Facebook page to get more information about this event and other things that they do. But they're behind a lot of natural family events and education. So they're Mothering by Nature Center on Facebook, and you can find out more about that. But anyway, I think we're going to have a good time on August 18th, and I'd like to see more than one choice for people in each county. Certainly, let's start with getting all of those counties filled up with at least one, but my challenge is to have multiple. Any other insights, John, or announcements about future initiatives from Sustainable Indiana? I know this year it's gardening, but what else have we got on the agenda?
Well, next year we're going to focus on what we call taking the trail, on biking and hiking, which is another good way to get us more in touch with the world around us, with our neighbors, and something that's very healthy for all of us. Then the year after that is going to be around cleaner energy, finding a way to become independent of fossil fuels, and starting to either choose green power options or conserve energy, any number of ways that can be done. Finally, on the year 2016 itself, we're going to launch a gigantic river cleanup. Clean up your river, and we hope to get hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people on the same day out cleaning up their river. Again, connecting with nature and each other, and doing something to make our state cleaner and healthier.
Great. Well, it sounds like some big jobs ahead of us, but with enough participation, they say many hands lighten the load. So a little patch of grass or a little patch of garden can really help make a big dent in your food budget for the summer. So I hope that we've encouraged people to check that out and to check out these other opportunities that are coming up, these other initiatives that we'll be following in the next few years. Again, the website for Sustainable Indiana is www.sustainableindiana2016.org. And please check out their their garden page if you'd like to register yourself as a host for a garden party or to attend an already organized event. Please come out and see me on August 18th between 3 and 5 p.m. I'll be at Foundation Meadows, which is on Campbell Street in Valparaiso, and I'd love to see you for a garden tour and sharing some appetizers made from my very own produce harvested from the garden. Also on the local foods front, we will be having a green drinks meetup on Monday, this coming Monday, July 16th, from 6 to 9 p.m. at Cornucopia Coffee in Valparaiso. We are going to have several local community gardeners, and we'll also have folks from Grow NWI. that will share just news and updates on the local food scene, and they'll be on hand for answering additional questions listeners may have about gardening. So I think that'll be a good opportunity to go beyond this talk that we have on the radio and meet some people in person. So looking forward to that as well. John, I want to thank you for being my guest today, and is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just congratulations to you and all the other folks up there in Northwest Indiana that are doing really good things. I'm excited to hear about it. You should know that in other places of the state there are exciting things happening as well. And altogether, I think we Hoosiers are starting to change our reputation from being laggards or at the bottom of the pile when it comes to clean air and clean water and healthy food. And I'm just hoping for the Bicentennial we will have a brand new national recognition of Indiana as one of the top leaders in the country in things like food security, cleaner energy, more efficient buildings, and all the other things that go with making sustainable community. I think we're on the road to that. There are some challenges ahead, but if we work together like you say, we'll get there.
Well, we need to do what we can do today.
Thank you for having me on your show, and my congratulations to you and all your listeners for helping to make Indiana a better place to live.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate your work, and we'll keep checking back on your website, and also you have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Sustainable Indiana 2016, so you can like that and follow news updates there. Also, 219 Green Connect has a Facebook page, and I have been trying to repost updates from Sustainable Indiana as well. So thank you so much, John, and look forward to celebrating big time with our gardens on August 18th.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Bye.
This has been another episode of 219 Green Connect, and we appreciate you joining us.